it is now like the first day of fall, which is insane. Absolutely insane. I also finished Daydream. I feel like my only comment though is that that book, I don't know if I could even rate it because it just felt so similar to my like real life experience. And like looking yourself in the mirror is just a little bit of an uncomfortable experience. So who knows if I'm gonna rate it. Anyways, I am currently reading Beartown. I felt like I just wanted a little bit more of like a cold vibe, and I know it's not winter yet, but I feel the Beartown vibes, and it is a whole trilogy, so I think I have time to start reading it and then finish it in the winter. We'll see, because I don't think it's a bingeable series. Maybe it is, who knows, but I don't think it is. So yeah, I am going to be running to class now. Okay, guys, after a long afternoon slash day of just, you know, a little bit of cleaning up my room and whatnot, I'm here for a book update. So, Beartown. I just, I feel like this writing is a little bit hard to fall into, and that's making me interpret when I'm reading this as being dense. And there's just a lot of characters introduced right off the bat, and I'm sure that it will get easier to actually like understand what's happening and who it's happening to as I read it. Like, again, I am only, I think, maybe 8% into this book. 9%. I'm on chapter 6. And a lot is happening. We're getting a lot of different perspectives. Like, we start off seeing some of the kids' perspectives. So we see a young boy who is the child of an immigrant and how he is fitting into this town that's like hyper obsessed with hockey. And then we read from the point of view of the hockey manager of the team. And then we're really setting up the fact that there's so much pressure on these kids to perform and kind of represent Beartown. But we haven't gotten very far. We're getting, I think, more into the kind of dynamics between the people in this town. And we've kind of already touched on it with the social undercurrent that's running within this village in our town. Because we're talking a lot about the kind of emotions that both people that grew up in the town and then also people that kind of came into this town, whether they are married in or they just ended up like immigrating here and ended up in this town. And we delve into like the dynamics between these people amongst themselves and then between each other, and then also just what the kind of culture is in this town, that it is a small town and it's being portrayed as, everyone is kind of aware of each other's business and what is happening in each other's lives, and how that's kind of feeding into kind of shame. Sometimes if something small happens, it feels amplified in other people or in that person's life because, now they have to think about, okay, this is happening in my life, but now everyone around me also knows this is happening in my life, and how that might affect how they feel and how that might impact how they're dealing with this. We're also getting some characters, because they're not from the town, they don't place the same amount of importance on hockey as the people that are from Beartown, because they just see that their hockey team is basically a bunch of 17-year-olds that are getting undue pressure put upon them to raise this town back into kind of its glory days from like 60 years ago. But we'll see. Again, I'm finding this a little dense, but I'm gonna push through and at least get to 100 pages, because I think this book is 500-ish pages. So we're gonna keep it pushing and we'll see where I end up. But I think for now, I'm not really heavily vibing with this book, I'm not gonna lie. And I'm kind of surprised, but at the same time, I've only read one other Fredrik Backman book, and it was Every Day the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. And that was phenomenal. And it's a short story, basically. I don't know if it's a novella or a short story, but it's a pretty short work. And it's basically dealing with this grandfather who's going through struggling with memory loss and kind of how his family's coping. And it was so phenomenally done. And I gave that 5 stars. But I don't know if that was maybe the best way to judge all of Fredrik Backman's writing ever. But we'll see. Maybe I'm going to eat my words by the end of this. But yeah, that's my reading update for now. Okay guys, welcome to Friday, and we are still reading Beartown. I am currently, I think, 52% through this book, and I think I have like 3 hours left. Oh, nope, 4 hours. So I just want to talk a little bit about this book. So I think I was so annoyed when we were getting all of this extra information, or it just felt like extra to me, and it just felt like we were getting so much like depth and like understanding of all these characters, and like basically it felt like we were learning about the entire town, and there was no plot progression for like a good chunk of this like 52% that I was reading. But then we now have like the like inciting event, and or is it inciting event? It's like whatever's the top of like plot graphs, like, you know what I'm talking about. But we finally got that event, and now I can so completely appreciate that we're so well situated in this town, and we're so well situated in the culture and like the minds of these people. Not to say that we now know like exactly how everyone is going to react to this event, but we just understand so much better what the kind of general thoughts are in this town of different people, and then just generally like as a community what they will potentially feel and think. And like I really appreciate that now. Like looking back into this, I'm like, those first like 150 pages were really necessary, because I think I would have like complained if we didn't have this, because we wouldn't have been as well situated in the town. But now we're just so primed for this to really impact us too as a reader, instead of feeling like we're just reading about something happening to someone else. We feel like we are in this town, and we feel like this is something happening in our community, because we're just so well into, like, we just are so well integrated into this story and into this town. And I feel like I'm just repeating myself over and over again, but yeah, and it kind of just snuck up on me. I was just kind of happened out of nowhere. I was like, oh my gosh, like, do I live in Beartown right now? Or like, I'm just like mentally, like, I'm just in Beartown. Like, this was just so well done. I'm kind of trying to finish this book today, because I'm going away over the weekend. So we're gonna finish this. This last 4 hours and 19 minutes of this book, hopefully. And then I'll give a little update at the end. So I did finish Beartown that night, but I did not record my thoughts, so here they are. And genuinely, I was disappointed by this book. There was just so little effect produced by that inciting event that I mentioned on any of the social or cultural aspects of that town. And really, it was just hockey that changed. And I fully understand that hockey is what is setting those social and cultural norms for this town. But I just feel like that was not a satisfying way to end this book. And there was just no consequences whatsoever. For any of the major events of this book, there was no consequences. And really, what was the point of reading about that? That's just my general thoughts on that entire ending. What was the point of that? What was the point of me reading this entire book, to be honest? Because if I'm wanting to read something that parallels real life, I would just pick up nonfiction. And so when I'm picking up fiction, I kind of expect a somewhat, at least, satisfying plot arc. But to be kind of left in the lurch at the end of that and being like, read the next books to find out, basically, it just made me feel like, what was the point of reading the next books? Because if you can't wrap up something like that, at that scale, in one book, I have no faith that you're gonna not be able to hold yourself back from rambling for the next 2 books. And this is just so disappointing because, again, like I mentioned, I've read one previous Fredrik Backman work, loved it. So to read this book and just feel absolutely zero emotionality towards that ending of something that is so emotional, I'm just kind of taken aback, I'm not gonna lie. So I have no rating for this book because genuinely the ending was so neutral, and I just feel like we got so many flashes forward to what's happening to the main characters, and then we're getting major plot spoilers for what's happening to the side characters. So it really holds no, I don't know, I just didn't feel anything from this book at the end. Like, I cried multiple times in the middle of this book, but last 50% was just so underwhelming. Well, that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Bye!